Comment 1432 says that when you're describing the trend of a graph, try to do more than simply talk about whether it's going up or down. Now, sometimes you don't have much choice, right? So there's not really a lot to do when you're describing the trend in this graph, other than to say, for example, that as x increases, so does y. Or you could say, to use the technical term, that x and y have a positive correlation. Other times, however, you need to say more. So, for example, in this graph, it's still true to say that as x increases, so does y. But what I'm saying with comment 1432 is it's not just that as x goes up, so does y. So in other words, the more you go to the right, the higher you go on the graph. It's also the case that how much you lift by with each movement to the right increases. So that is not much of a rise. That is more of a rise. That is even more of a rise. And so here, to correctly describe the trend, you would say, as x increases, so does y. And in fact, the higher x is, the more y increases. Now, basically what we're getting at is the fact that the graph is not a straight line. That's a straight line, whereas that is now a curve. Now, when I mention concavity, I mean the fact that this is concave up. Other graphs, so for example this one, are concave down. So if I completed that, it'll be like a bucket facing down. So that's concave down. Now for this one, it's as x increases, y decreases, and the further over to the right you get, the more of a lift you get. So for example, more of a fall you get. So that is much less steep than that, and that is much less steep than that. Another example would be this. As x increases, so does y, but the increase gets smaller and smaller, and that's another example of a concave down one. So pay attention not just to what direction the graph is going, so up versus down, but also pay attention to this concavity business, so whether you would be able to form a curve if you connected the dots, and would that curve be bucket up or would it be bucket down?